I was very intentional about not getting ahead of myself, right? And I think you can apply that in a lot of places in life. So I've had my agency for 15 years, but the first year or two, it was just myself. It was cool to be self-employed. It was cool to have a beer at 9 a.m., right? So that was good. And so what I did is, I think an easy way to communicate this is, like, one analogy is date your opportunities, right? So for me, I would, even before I started my agency, all of us have had a job that we didn't really like, or maybe it wasn't so bad, but we knew it wasn't going to be your career for long term. And so in all those opportunities, I looked at it like dating. And so I would go, okay, here's what I like and don't like about the job. And then take from that, and in applying to the next job, make sure it embraces the parts that you decided before that you like, and it avoids the parts that you don't like. And so you're fine-tuning your career and what path you want to go to, just as you learn the types of relationships you like and don't like, to ultimately end up marrying somebody. And so it's like the same thing. By the time I got to the opportunity by the time I realized I had an opportunity with an agency, then I had done the dating to understand the parts of a career or what opportunities I wanted and didn't want, to feel more confident to then commit to that opportunity. So when I started, a big part of when I first started the agency was I just didn't want to deal with the pain in the asses before of some of the people that I had been working with. And so when I made the leap of faith, it was when I realized I could still pay my bills. And so I wasn't making a ton of money by any means. What it was I had my day job that was taking up 80% of my time, but it was probably paying 50 to 55% of my income. And the other half was coming from the side hustle that was only taking up 20% of my time. So when the side hustle incrementally increased to the point where I could pay my bills, and so at that time, I was probably 24 or 25 years old, something like that. And so I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, didn't have kids yet. So by doing the math, I could go, okay, if I eliminate the day job, which is half of my income, can I still pay the mortgage and the car payments and food and insurance and things like that? Yes. Will I be rich? Definitely not. I'm actually going to lose money, but I still have those needs met. And in doing that, I was able to replace the day job, free up that time, which allowed me to focus on the side hustle, which was prioritizing my clients. I was able to get that income back in, if I remember right, it was probably like 2 to 3 months. It wasn't a terribly long time, because I was able to then focus. So then for a year or two after that, it was just me, because it was cool to not have a ton of responsibilities outside of just those handful of clients. It was great to have the freedom of time. It was, at the time, my wife worked in a hospital, and so she'd get up at 3 a.m., go to work at 4. And so why not get up at 3 a.m.? I'm not doing anything else. So I got up at 3, and then I would work from like 4 to 9. And earlier I joked about having a beer, because 9 was like midday for me. And so sometimes I'd be like, why not have a beer? And so I joke about that now, because I don't really drink nowadays. But back then it was like, take from what I like and don't like from that opportunity. And then after a year or two, it was, okay, the fun's run its course as being a solopreneur. Now let's put on our big boy pants and see what we can do with this. And so at that time, then I started bringing on a couple remote team members, and then did that for probably another year or two, because here's where I talk about dating the phases. I hadn't ever managed other people. I had managed people in a traditional job, but I hadn't ever had anybody on payroll under my own responsibility before. And so that was something that I wanted to learn. And I didn't want to overwhelm myself by going from 0 to 50 employees, or going from 5 clients to 50 clients. And so I gave myself the freedom to go through those processes and learn from them. And then that, in retrospect, has made all the other phases that followed it way more sustainable. So, one way to kind of summarize that is, there's definitely a lot of people that made way more money a lot faster than I did. But a big chunk of them also lost that money because they couldn't sustain it. They may have made $1 million before me, but I've never lost my $1 million, right? And so I was able to go through those phases. And so then after maybe that second phase, I'm kind of generalizing here, of having a handful of team members, then it was like, okay, well, now how do we scale fulfillment? So that's when I got really heavy into documenting processes. And Documenting processes is amazing, and we all hear it and we all know it. Standard operating procedures, it's the best thing ever. But until you actually do it and can quantify the benefits of it, it's a whole different conversation. So doing that absolutely sucked though. It took 2 or 3 hours every other day for a year to go through all the possible different situations. So what I do is search engine marketing, and with that we do a lot of web design. So then I had to go, okay, what about all the wild card situations? What about all the dynamic situations? Does this website run on platform A or platform B? Is it a commerce website or a non-commerce website? Is it hosted at a good place or a bad place? So there's all these different combinations of scenarios that we could be working with on a client. And when I was documenting the processes, I never wanted to do it again other than needing to update things as processes change. But I didn't want to finish it and go, I kind of half-assed that one part, now I got to go back and do it. So I really took my time to go through all those processes, and it's the best thing ever, because I can literally launch a new client's account with a 200-point checklist of tasks with perfect quality control in 30 seconds. I can go in and I can pick which type of project it is. Is it an SEO project, and is it commerce or non-commerce? Hit go, and it's going to kick out all the fine detailed tasks to all the individual responsible team members, all with staggered due dates and deadlines. And then from there, because I went so granular on the documentation, now the team can carry the majority of the production while I focus on management and scaling the team.
Amazing. We've been at Purpose Advisory, we've been focusing on that for pretty much the majority of this year, of identifying all the services which we're providing, of making sure that everyone who needs to complete something, or that they know what tasks they've got to do, that everything links into something else. And throughout that, there have been 3 changes of our CRM as we've realized that we need different functionality. There have been different places where we've needed to document. One place which we've been using as our client portal as well as our internal communications is closing down for everyone outside of that particular company. And so then we've got to change that as well. So everything's kind of changing as we're trying to build this foundation. But probably the most fruitful outcome of all of it is that as we've been needing to identify, well, what services will we provide to clients if it's not us, the ones speaking to clients? If we're hiring someone else to be doing that, well, what services are we going to be providing? Well, we've got to identify it somehow. And then we started focusing on client outcomes and client objectives, or clients meeting their goals, as opposed to what services of ours might be able to help clients. And so then our entire service packages started recreating. And my guess is it's still probably going to take another 6 months until we even get that clarified. There's no way that, like, if I wasn't influenced by people such as yourself, there's no way that I would have gone down that path and then identified an even better way of being able to provide services to clients. No chance. No chance we would have gone down that path.
No, doing that process sucks. It sucks. I'm not going to say it's sexy at all, because it's not, but the outcomes of it are super sexy.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue with the phases of your growth. So you then got to the stage of making sure that everything was really systemized before trying to grow again, or before beginning to scale with clients and team. And so then what was next?
Yeah, so then we kind of rode that wave for a little bit of improving the processes with existing clients, but then all the gears started clicking and supporting each other, where the accountability in the careful documentation started to be recognized by clients even more. So historically, prior to other than just the last 2 years, our only source of leads was referrals. So which is kind of ironic, right? Because we're a marketing company, we don't do any marketing for ourselves. But by improving that quality control even more, we never had a problem with quality control. We just made it even better. And then in doing that, it attracted more leads because we drove even better results. And then the accountability and the documentation became a selling point of itself. A lot of times when we get referrals now, it's largely, things like you commented on. If it weren't people like you to inspire me to go through these documentation processes, then I probably wouldn't do it. And messages like that started getting relayed to leads. where, hey, they're the most transparent SEO company I've ever worked with. They're the most hands-off agency. They take all the heavy lifting and do it for you. And so that started to be able to be identified through our communications, because we even document our touch points with our clients. Like, hey, at week 1, set expectations by telling them where we're at on these things. And then month 1, send them a handwritten thank you card that says, thanks for the opportunity to work with you. And so all those things that we did for documentation and setting expectations started to be value propositions that clients would share on our behalf, and then they become the raving fans. Now, the other thing that led to kind of bring us to the current phase is about 2 years ago, I started leaning heavy into social proof. So what I mean by that is, sharing expertise on social media. But here's the thing is 2 years, that came as a result of me completely shutting down social media.